Welcome everyone. There's 3 videos we're about to watch. There's Kings of StarCraft. It's like a mini series, I guess, of videos. Kings of StarCraft, MVP, Nestea, and MC, the Kings of Wings of Liberty. Okay? Let's do it.
Well, they call him the King of Wings, right? So why is...
By the way, sorry for pausing already. MVP is my favorite player ever, and he was the best player ever. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. He was the god of StarCraft II. Okay, period. If he didn't have carpal tunnel, he would have won everything.
that?
Because he was the most dominant player during Wings of Liberty. He picked up 4 GSL titles, and he played GSL so well and so consistently that they actually made a trophy, the G5L trophy, for him. He went to a 5th Grand Finals. He lost that finals, and so he didn't get the G5L trophy. And that was, you know, almost 10 years ago. And fast forward now, still no one has gotten that title. It's pretty insane.
I'm getting chills. I love
special
MVP.
about MVP. Maybe it was the fact that it was the, you know, the first expansion for StarCraft II, so it was kind of getting normalized. But he figured out so much stuff.
That sound gives me chills. But that's because I love MVP.
Bono is in massive amounts of trouble. MVP has played this out beautifully.
Beautiful play by MVP.
I remember he got referred to as Tastosis as like the game genie Terran, or just the game genie in general, because it just really seemed like he was in the brain of his opponent.
He doesn't actually do anything that extraordinary, but he was so good at preparing for matches and his opponent that it
I don't know
made
about
him
that.
just such a
He
strong
literally had
player.
new builds every time.
GG! Ladies and gentlemen, LGIM's MVP is the champion!
This is my game. MVP taking a 60 supply lead over Stefano. Congratulations, he knows. Well done, MVP picks up the victory 4-1.
Even setting his SPs on the ramp, loading his command center, he knows that there's a counter coming. All he has to do is stop and he wins the game.
This is him versus Marine King Prime. They played, I think, twice in the finals, and they played many times. And every time they played, MVP would stomp him. The funny thing is, most of their games would end with Marine King trying to base trade, and he completely gets shot down. But Marine King would do well against other players with it, but MVP was just not having any of that. Like, he would always just destroy him. And this is one of those games, you can see Marine King is trying to base trade, and MVP is always ready, because he knew how he plays, so...
Beautiful play by MVP. It's this guy, stoppable cases. Okay, I don't know. GG. Damn.
He was by far the best at Terran for a very long time, early days. Very innovative, and one of the important things about being a king of StarCraft would probably be having those memorable games and being someone who really stood out, and that was always MVP.
After all, to be a king, people have to remember you after you're gone.
MVP Squirtle, that final in GSL.
I think that's one of the most exciting and fun series of StarCraft II of all time.
I had stayed up to watch it, and I remember I was like, "This is bad. This isn't gonna be that fun. I don't want to stay up for it." So I went to sleep.
This entire GSL run encapsulates what made MVP one of the greats. His build order repertoire and his preparation for his opponents. In the quarters and the semifinals, he alternated between aggression.
So this was the season where, like they said, he played against Squirtle in the finals. But I wish they showed the bracket. The bracket was him and 6 Protoss and another guy. I can't remember who it was. And it was basically him versus the Protoss in quarterfinals, him versus Protoss in semifinals, and him versus Protoss in the finals. And everyone, each series, Protoss at the time for that meta was favored against Zerg and Terran. And everyone said MVP has no chance because, like, no one can win with Terran against Protoss at that time. And then he came out and he played Naniwa in round of 8, the games you just saw, and he did 3 different cheeses. Like, he literally cheesed every single game. And he won, but like cheeses that people have not seen before with like mind games and stuff. And then he went partying in the semifinals and Squirtle in the finals. And it was a great road all the way to the end.
And eco play, even busting out a handful of cheeses, but outplaying his opponents at every turn. In the finals, he plays a variety of standard builds, winning 3 games in a row and losing 3 games in a row. Then it comes down to Game 7, with everything on the line.
The most memorable finals from Wings, I think.
Oh, you slide devil, you.
Oh my god, so he's
Slide
doing it.
Boots MVP.
Man, I remember where I was when I watched these finals. I was in NA, it was like 5 or 6 a.m. and we were in like a team house for StarCraft II and we were all watching this. And this was the moment where it was 3-3. And this is why this guy's a champion, because 3-3 in the grand finals, he decides to proxy Rax versus Protoss, which back then wasn't that great, okay? It wasn't bad, but it wasn't that great.
This
Oh my
is...
god, what is the pro mindset?
Oh my god.
Oh god. Oh.
It's good placement. Here goes the core. He has to wait, it looks like, for...
Okay, Zealot.
Everything got delayed. And there we go, Zealot being made.
This game should not be a long one.
It's gonna come down to micro here.
He sees the SCVs are pulled.
God.
He knows.
Very
As long as he
nice
gets the
by
SCV,
Squirtle so far.
yeah,
And it
did a
was
great
so
job
bad
there. The
for
bunker's not gonna
MVP.
finish, but 3 more SCVs here can continue to build the bunker.
Even if the bunker goes up, it doesn't mean game over. The Stalkers can out-micro Marines for a very long time. Squirtle has to micro his heart out here, takes his own corner.
Oh my god.
Towards the
He
middle
can't
line.
lose that other
He
stalker.
has to run those probes away. He can't be losing probes.
Actually,
Oh my god. He's going to hold. Losing a lot of probes, though. This
got one
might
Zealot out here, too.
normalize. This could normalize.
he needs to run.
Oh my god, one sucker definitely going to go down. Down it goes. Down goes the Zealot as well. Uh-oh, did Squirtle
Did he
overcommit?
just drop the ball?
So they didn't show what just happened. So Squirtle tried to find the proxy and he went under the barracks. And then he approached the barracks from underneath and MVP had Marines hidden. So when he approached the barracks, he got flanked and that's why he lost the Stalker and the Zella. Realistically, Squirtle should have not lost that. But he probably thought like, oh, when you defend the initial bunker rush, it's kind of over. And he got too confident. And that's pretty much it.
He may have Tasteless. He needs more Stalkers.
Look at MVP's Fuck Champ.
Don't forget SCVs are in the mail right now.
Very in the
Oh
mail.
my god, oh my god.
Phenomenal micro right now. Great stars up. That is so many Marines.
Oh! That may be the tipping point.
MVP, he's gone all in this final 7th game, and it may pay off. Squirtle with very few probes left, losing that Stalker. Such a big deal.
Oh my god, but he does also have those 2 stalkers out. A third one pops
the
out.
bunker,
But the bunker finishes.
completes.
This is absolute chaos in here. I think Squirtle might be dead.
Look at this, no
oh my
mining.
god, the pro! Oh my god, the pro back at home. He got everything over there with the probe. He killed the SVs up because MVP wasn't
Oh
looking.
my god. And MVP.
And Mules can't attack. Mules
Does
cannot
MVP
attack.
have enough money for a bunker?
Okay, the Nexus goes down, but it's not over yet. Make no mistake.
Yeah, this is not actually over. This still could turn around.
Now he's gonna not be able to make the Zealot, but that's gonna be more minerals to make buildings.
And unfortunately, he is still mining. So
Did he lose the?
It's really
That's it.
GG.
GG.
MVP is our
did it.
4-time
Insane
GSL
game.
champion.
Oh my god.
Man.
In 2014, MVP retired after 3 years of winning championships across 2 different expansions of StarCraft II. He was a top-tier player whose depth of build orders and excellent preparation for his opponents allowed him to rise to the top of tournaments and leagues time and time again. His 4 GSL wins wasn't matched for 5 years. His domination makes him a king of StarCraft II.
So, there's this ongoing hold on, there's more.
I remember meeting MVP at BlizzCon 2011 again, the same BlizzCon where I got my really excited photo with Nestea. And I remember meeting MVP very briefly, just shaking his hand and saying hello. And I remember it really felt like he was a true celebrity. MVP actually had an entourage of Korean men with suits surrounding him at all time. You know, I'm not a man that gets intimidated by much, but that was very close to being intimidating.
I love
do I say hello? Will these large Korean men in suits just push me over if I come up to him and try and shake his hand or say GG? Luckily, that wasn't the case. Everyone was very friendly, and MVP was very lovely as well. He didn't speak a lick of English, but he understood Gosu. He understood GG, congratulations, you're the champion, which is all the things that I said to him when I shook his hand.
So there's a lot of discussion, like in StarCraft 2 community over the past couple of years, like who is the best player of all time? And a lot of people say like players right now are the best players. But if you look at skill-wise, obviously they're the best players, right? They've been playing the longest, the meta has developed the most. But for me, the greatest player of all time is MVP, because the time when he played, he was extremely dominant when he was winning. Like, extremely, extremely dominant. He always had new builds. He always had the best micro, the best macro at the time. And he did it when the game was brand new. Now it's very easy to copy to copy someone and practice up the mechanics without actually doing a lot of thinking, because others did it for you. He said a lot of things that we're doing today, or that people know about StarCraft, was from what he did in the early days. And being that dominant when the player base in StarCraft 2 was, I mean, there was way more players than there are now. And yes, the game was easier. I'm not going to argue that. But this guy was also a god at Brood War. And just before he switched over to StarCraft 2, he was on his way to become, I don't know, top 2, top 3 Terran in Brood War. So when people say like, oh, if he played now, he wouldn't have won, that is just 100% wrong. And he had a very similar playstyle to TY, but he also mixed in a lot of cheeses like Maru. So he was like somewhere between Maru and TY, if you want to get like a good grasp of how MVP played. And he always had new builds, which is one thing that I feel like separated him from, from the others. But for those that don't know, he eventually, I think it was 2013 early, he started having carpal tunnel I don't know if it was both of his hands or one of his hands, and he kept competing for 2 years, and he had multiple surgeries. And even when he had a carpal tunnel, he still won tournaments, and eventually he stopped playing because he couldn't, because of his condition. But I'm so convinced that if he kept playing, if he didn't have carpal tunnel, he would be winning tournaments still to this day. Because, yeah, I firmly believe that. And to me, I don't know how you guys feel about this. To me, being good and thinking and figuring things out is more impressive than just having simply good macro mechanics today. Because I feel like there are a lot of players today that have good macro mechanics and stuff like that. But there's very few players that you can point out and say, this guy changed the game, or this guy did this first, or, whatever else. So, but that's my opinion at the end of the day. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. But yeah. This is Kings of StarCraft Nestea. For Zerg, Nestea was a Zerg player. For Zerg player, I actually don't know who was the best player in Wings of Liberty. But he didn't play Heart of the Swarm, if I remember correctly.
In the early days of StarCraft II, the competitive scene was frenzied. Not only were there players from around the world switching over from Brood War, or Warcraft 3, or Command & Conquer, or picking up StarCraft for the first time, but there was also a multitude of tournaments. Each tournament
look at that screen, it's so small
king
because
of
the
StarCraft
footage
II,
was pathetic.
But each supposed king reigned for only a moment before they were dethroned.
Look at Maru! Look at Maru when he was a kid. Look at him. He was like 14, I think, here, by the way. Or maybe it was 12, actually. That's actually Maru, by the way. That's not some new, different Maru. That's Maru. I think it was 12. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was 12, 13, or 14. 12 or 13, actually. I don't think it was 14 here.
They were dethroned by the next king, and as many attempted to rise to greatness.
So Maru, for, like, you know, for people that, again, are unaware, Maru has been playing since 2010, and he's only started winning way later, right? Way, way later. Because, I mean, he was young, but there were a lot of young champions, so it's not just the age, it just took him a while to, you know, get really, really good.
Only a few were able to rise to the top and stay there. Nestea was just such a player.
He's going to do a Marina CD Rush. Could Boxer win the same way the Emperor used to here in the GSL?
And here we go. The Zerglings are out as well. He's got to try to surround these Marines, and there he goes! A beautiful surround!
This is Marine King Prime, by the way.
The Zerglings flanking everything, and the Zerglings come out and drop the drones, going back to mine frantically. Will he be able to hold? Nestea with so many Zerglings here. He's just taking out everything, and Tasteless, it looks like we have our next GSL champion.
He's done it! That's gonna be game! GG! More and more links send me down here. And I could see, yes, inside the booth, the Boxer, his hands on his...
By the way, this was one of the worst finals. I remember this finals. It was 4-3. Every single game was proxy racks, 2 proxy from your main base, proxy racks, 2 racks from your main base. Every single game, guys. Like, Marine King versus Zerg was only proxy racks for like 2 years straight. He was really good at it, but yeah. But no, this is not Boxer. This is Marine King Prime before he changed his name to Marine King. He was called Boxer because he was fan of, like, Boxer, you know, Boxer from Brood War. And then he changed his name to Foxer because fake Boxer, I think, Foxer. And then he changed his name to Marine King Prime because all his strategies were proxy Raxes and mass Marines. So, yeah.
Face a crushing loss.
Nestea is our GSL Season 2 champion.
Beginning of StarCraft II, Zerg was the weakest race. Nestea felt like the first real dominant player, I suppose.
Nestea was able to push the mechanics of early StarCraft II, where mechanics were a little bit different than we know of them now, by knowing exactly what to do at any given time. He just immediately would think of something and he'd be able to do it.
Oh my god, 3 drones.
What?
Guys, we're just gonna have to learn.
Artosis was the biggest Nestea
funny.
fan.
Oh
my god!
I remember this game.
Oh my god,
This is the
Nestea!
coolest thing I've ever
Nestea
seen!
has a trillion IQ!
I remember this game.
This is why
Oh my
he wasn't
God.
finding gas!
Oh, this is so
Steve
sick!
Clapping. Woo! This is insane! He's so smart!
I've never seen this before in my entire life.
Artosis
It's
is
actually
such
the
a
coolest thing
huge
I've ever
fan of
seen.
this
Cool,
team.
unbelievable. I've been to coolhunter.com, sorry.
Because right now Nestea is taking a third base, getting his gases, making queens, making probes.
He will probably get the gateway as well. Yeah, he absolutely will.
He's gonna get anything he wants because he's Nestea, the god of Zerg.
And I think if he loses the second X, I would assume any pro will GG.
Yeah, he is coming out with as much as he can, but Nestea has too many Hydras.
That was actually a really cool build.
Stop.
See, this is what I loved about Wings of Liberty. You could do stuff like this. And this is one of those things, it's probably not going to work again, right? But you could do so many new things and, like, figure out stuff. That's what I loved about Wings.
Kid's killing his second Nexus with him.
Alright. Pretty brutal. If there are children in the room, I would suggest you have them leave. I don't think any child should be subjected to seeing
What if there's Zerg
somebody
player, though?
suffer like this.
If there's Zerg
Children
players.
are still holding bases.
Alright, and here comes the GG.
GG.
He really was thought of as one of the early StarCraft galaxy brains. He was very, very good strategically. Not so much like a mechanical god, but just really brainy and very good at countering and preparing for his opponent. He was one of the earliest and strongest players at that sort of thing in StarCraft II.
The couple things that I remember really seeing Nestea do, I remember watching the 4-0 of Inca, and
that was one of the worst finals. Not the worst, but one of the worst. I don't know if they're gonna show it, but it's basically a Protoss player called Inca was known for going DTs every game. And then he got to the finals somehow. Don't ask me how, but he got to the finals. And then he proceeds to go DTs against Nestea 4 games in a row, and Nestea just completely smashed it. It was terrible.
His literal perfect GSL run. I mean, if you talk about things that Nestea has done and no one else has done, I guess that's one of them, right? Is that Nestea actually did a perfect no map losses in an entire GSL, and that's actually crazy.
That's it. Yeah, the Spanko is done. The hatches have to go out. There is less than a 1% chance of a comeback here.
Nestea becomes our GSL July champion. This is his 3rd championship. He did not lose a single game.
Imagine winning ZVZ 4-0.
We have never seen anything like this before in StarCraft II.
It wasn't just a perfect GSL Code S run. Nestea actually started a win streak in the previous season, the 2011 May GSL. His win streak would continue into
this was a sick game. I remember this game.
For one more game, giving him 19 games in Code S without a map loss, making him the first 3-time Code S champion and the first player to win against all 3 races in the finals.
Nestea won the Nestea Award back in 2012, which was literally named after him because he was first player to be in Code S of GSL, so the tippity top 10 seasons in a row.
At the highest level of every competitive field, consistency is difficult, and especially in the early days of StarCraft II when turnover was so high, there were many one-time champions. But Nestea achieved consistency. If you're good for a weekend, you can win a tournament. If you're good in a patch or in a season, you can win Code S. But you don't stay in Code S for 10 seasons in a row if you aren't truly above the rest. In 2013, DRG becomes only the 3rd player to receive the Nestea Award, and including that season, there were 13 different Code S champions. Nestea's legacy lives on in his award, as over the decade of StarCraft II, 19 players would receive it, including Deer in Season 2 of the 2020 GSL.
There are 2 things that come to mind when I think of big Nestea moments. So one of them is an amazing YouTube meme video, which is just about Artosis describing the expansive mind and universe that is self-contained within Nestea's brain.
We all live inside of Nestea's dream. I feel like Nestea is actually taking a nap somewhere, and inside his infinitely complex brain, he has created all of us. Think about all of your memories, everything that's ever happened to you. He dreamt all that for you, for me, for over 6 billion people on this planet, the entire history of Earth.
And the second one is the very, very famous so many Banelings moments that Artosis and Tasteless was commentating.
Artosis was a big Nestea fan.
Here we go! And that is so many Banelings just rolling in here trying to kill Thors with Banelings. Nestea, you are a psychopath, Nestea! I can't believe what I just saw! Nestea has just erased a quadrillion Thors with 5 quadrillion Banelings.
Over the course of 3 years, Nestea conquered the GSL 3 times and accrued nearly $250,000 in winnings. His consistency and his creative play make him truly a king of StarCraft II.
So, I would say Nestea probably was the best Zerg. I'm trying to think what other Zergs existed back in the day. Let me see this list. That's Nestea Award, but how many people? Code S champions. So Fruit Dealer was the first Zerg to win GSL. He was definitely not. He was washed out very soon after. Life came in, I think, End of Wings and then into Heart of the Swarm. Same with GASTER. I don't think those guys were there for the first year and a half of Wings. And I don't literally remember any other Zerg. I mean, there's no other Zerg that actually won GSL. I think GASTER/Life won towards the end. But Nestea was probably the best Zerg in Wings of Liberty. And he definitely was ahead of the meta. I want to see the last one for Kings of StarCraft. But this is like a Wings of Liberty edition, basically, because it's MVP, Nestea, and can you guys guess which is the last one? It's a Protoss player. MC, baby. Okay, I want to say before we get started on this one, MC, in my opinion, was the way he was playing Protoss is the way Protoss was meant to be played. Like, when I think of Protoss, the first thing that comes to my mind is MC and parting. The way MC was winning games was, I've never seen anything like that in StarCraft II. When he was pushing across the map, he would walk over you. Doesn't matter what the army was, doesn't matter what the size was, what units, he would walk over opponents. But parting was also very similar. But MC definitely deserves the name Bostos.
Well, if you just look at pure facts, MC is a king of StarCraft because for the longest time he was the highest earning player in StarCraft.
True.
Okay, then let's look at some facts. MC earned $490,000 from 2010 to 2014.
Man, his micro in Wings, guys, was, no joke, better at a time than it is for some players now. His force field and blink micro was insane. And now, right? But for back then, it was like people couldn't touch him. Like when he would do a blink stalker push or sentry stalker push, people couldn't defend because he made Protoss look broken.
During his height, he was the top earning StarCraft II player. He has 2 GSL titles. From 2010 to 2014, he has 27 top 4 finishes in premier tournaments. 6 of those were first place. So MC did a lot of winning, but it wasn't always that way. He actually started out in Brood War before StarCraft II, and he had a nickname.
Being known as Suicide Toss, right? And he already had the personality of MC that we know, like very bold. But he was a B-teamer that would lose literally every single televised game.
Then 2010 comes around, StarCraft II comes out, and it's not long before people stop calling him the Suicide Toss and start calling him by a different nickname.
Bostos.
MC just brought to the crowd that it took away the whole faceless Korean narrative that a lot of people have been building up back in the day. And MC intentionally pushed that. He didn't just only work the game and was a really fun player to watch, but he also worked the crowd.
Most StarCraft players are kind of calm, quiet personalities, but MC was an extremely strong personality that was very outgoing, also being able to follow it up with results, and his personality matched his playstyle.
I have one question to start things off, asking MC. Did you ever think you were going to lose? Bitch, please.
MC is a player that spent a lot of his career dominating in Korea, and he got pretty well known on OGS. He was playing in the GSTL, the team league, a really good sniper player. He came up with really unique builds.
For MC, his signature sort of abilities was the army control, which was something that was very important to Protoss as a whole, but as well as something that MC could take to another level, which really put him on the map. It's always been something to marvel at with MC.
You would think that he would just suicide his army, but the perfect blinking and perfect force fields, he was able to pull off engagements that nobody else could.
You guys remember the mothership core, right? And you remember that it could turn a Nexus into a cannon?
Why are you surprised? There he goes, photo.
Wow. And he can hit the planetary with his cannon.
Oh, this is actually kind of a bad position though for those Zealots. Oh, that's a massive storm.
Widowmine exploding. Don't shoot the second
Oh.
Widowmine.
Very, very nicely done there by MC. His control is meticulous in these situations, and he's doing it very, very neatly. He's trying to soak the Widowmine shots, and there you go again. Constant utilization of that blink to negate any kind of damage he can. And now Thorzin is plummeting in supply. Peekaboo nerds! Oh, these poor little guys. And the blink as well.
And seeing these games, I remember like
Sorry,
all
guys.
these games.
It's over for us.
Yeah, exactly same. Time warp, then force field that he can never repair, and then just micro.
Look at that.
And yeah, force field's going down.
Hashtag Roddy Micro.
The Marauder has been focused, the SCV's being pulled. The small leg.
Perfect force field.
Tries to get a bunker.
Very, very good force again.
Does he have one more? No, he does not. But is there another time warp?
Yeah, but look, the forces on the left and on the right are completely
Like, he just killed all of that, and he lost nothing. Like, his units, look at it, those two sentries lost shield, and this one a little bit, and this stalker.
From units to go forward, and then the time warp completely slows them down. It's a perfect engagement from Mincho, and I think he will just completely win this.
Stimpig is 20 seconds. Oh, the commentator will die, I believe, with the vision of the mothership core.
Yeah, definitely dies. It definitely dies.
He right clicks
and
very
that's
hard.
game.
And as someone that's played against MC and lost, stuff like this, can it work? Yes, but no one was doing this because it just shouldn't work, and it didn't work. But then when he does it and he lands like the perfect force field, it looks like, oh, why doesn't everyone do this? This is broken, kind of thing. And then people would try this on the ladder, like when they see him do stuff, and they would completely fail.
Doing what MC does best, which is a lot of good blink control, as he will blink one of those down onto the low ground, continuing a very, very cost-efficient trade here for MC. SCVs get pulled off the line for MMA, realizing that there is a lot of risk involved in this if he doesn't actually deal with it early enough.
As much as MMA's defense was perfect in the last game, this
Look,
attack is
0
perfect
units
as
lost.
well.
Yeah.
He lost like no stalkers. He moved them back. He blinked them down. He does take a big hit from a Widowmine there, but this is awesome by MC.
He's only lost one.
Like, guys, this is like super early in StarCraft 2. Like, I've seen pro Protoss players in Legacy have way worse micro than that.
Throughout the second one will end up falling, but still so many stalkers are available to him. The blink control impeccable here from MC, showing us exactly what it means to have boss toss control. Still, there's more blink stalkers on that left-hand side looking to reinforce. The army supplies are very, very even, but it's not going to matter. GG.
This is 2020 Legacy, the Void meta, yeah.
We've seen Protoss players with blink micro or good force fields, but MC was first, was better, and wasn't just gimmicks. He was gimmicks and more top 4 finishes in Premier tournaments than Innovation, MVP, Nestea, Maru, or even Serral. In his time, he was prolific, even if he didn't always take first place. MC is an unforgettable StarCraft II player, in-game and out. A champion through and through, who has undoubtedly earned a spot as a king of StarCraft II. He was apparently playing for Root Gaming at the time, but is no longer. He apparently was coaching.
God, I remember when he was dancing. Oh God, this was like a talk show, live show they had. Look at the moves.
But is no longer. He apparently was coaching the League of Legends team Genji, but he's no longer listed on their website, and no one that I interviewed had any concrete answer. Some people say he's still dancing with Artosis to this very day.
I have 4 courses, so strong. Courses Imba. I hope you will try this build.
But I will probably lose if I try it.
No, it's 4 courses, you did 3 courses.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's different, you and me. I'm 4 courses, 4 big head, yeah?
4 big heads?
Yeah, big head. Yeah, he operated me, and good force speed. Yeah.
But this was bad. You look at your stalkers. What is this?
Handicap.
Handicap. Oh, okay. Here we go again with the handicap.
And wow, you know,
so good micro.
Yeah, good force speed and what this time of how win Terran?
I don't
Imba.
know. Terran
Four
got-
courses. Wow, killing everything.
Oh man, I would honestly say that, like, from these three that we just saw, in my opinion, MVP, at least, you know, Wings of Liberty, 100% the best Terran by far. Some people argue MMA. MMA came late, Wings, and I think MVP has to be the best Terran player in Wings, in my opinion, of all time, because his brain was gigantic, still is probably. Best Zerg, Wings, 100% SD, because there's actually no other. And I'm looking at the whole Wings of Liberty period. And then the best Protoss, for me, again, of all time, is MC. Like, Wings of Liberty, 100%, but for me, MC was the best Protoss player of all time. Because, again, for same reasons like MVP, the stuff that he was doing back then was so much more impressive because it was so early in the game. Like, having that blink micro now is normal. Having that blink micro back then, no one did it. No one was able to get close to that level. And again, people who played against MC will tell you the same thing. You have a fight, and you know you're winning that fight based on your experience. And then if you play against MC, you lose that fight, and you don't really get how you lost. Because that shouldn't happen. That's how good his micro was. And the amount of cheeses and all the crap you see today, a lot of that is thanks to MC. Because when he started playing, he was cheesing every single game. He did develop into like more 2-3 base timings, but he was giga aggressive player. And I think he played Protoss the way the Protoss should have been played. And as much as I back then disliked cheesy players and like people who only all in, especially Protoss players, MC was the one player where I'm like, he actually cheeses so well that I can't even be mad at like losing to him because he just did it way better than anyone else. And he was definitely the most influential Protoss player of all time. And I would say MVP was probably the most influential Terran player of all time. Nestea, I wouldn't say so. Like, Zerg had its issues in the first half of Wings of Liberty, but then at the second half of Wings, Zerg was actually incredibly broken because of Infestor Broodlord. And then we had like 10 different Zerg players win tournaments towards the end with just like Infestor Broodlord. So it's hard to say that Nestea, you know, did something there to develop the meta. It just kind of went on its own. But yeah, that's my opinion. I would love to hear your guys' opinion, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch. On Twitch, we can discuss it for a little bit, see what you guys think. But yeah, MC was definitely a boss toss. Definitely a well-deserved nickname. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I think SC2HL, I'm going to actually link you guys their channel. Give me a second. But if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, I'm going to link their channel in the chat. They are making what it seems to be like a Heart of the Swarm editions, and they have only one right now. But if they have two more, I might watch those too. Alright. There it is in the chat, boys. Check it out. SC2HL has plenty good videos, so you guys should definitely subscribe to them because they have a lot of good content, and this is like a mini series they've started, and I like it quite a bit. Are there more viewers of StarCraft Remastered, StarCraft 2? StarCraft 2. By a lot. But yeah, I wish, like, I actually in a way like feel bad for the people that haven't played Wings. It was truly a special time, guys. It was truly a special time. Like, I know a lot of people say like, oh, back then players were terrible, because I've actually heard discussions amongst like pro players these days and like some of the commentators, and they're like, oh yeah, people were so bad in Wings, and like making fun of them. Early Wings people were bad. It was a new game, but like at the end of by the time like 6-8 months passed, people started becoming really, really good. And especially towards mid-end of Wings, players were really good. And I always said this, for me, it's way more impressive when you do something for the first time and when you like pull out something new and you blow everyone's mind than when you play in Legacy and you just have good macro and micro. I don't know, like I don't really value macro and micro in terms of ranking people as much as how much influence they had on the game. And someone said earlier the only reason why there were so many builds in Wings is because the game wasn't figured out. True, but also not true. The reason we don't have those builds now is because of faster economy. There's no time for cheeses and stuff like that. But those were truly magical times. I wish I can... Maybe one day I'll sit down and I'll rewatch all the games and tell you guys all the stories. When are we getting your Kings episode? Well, I'm trash, so... Maybe if it's trash of StarCraft, maybe I'll appear there. It's like Hearthstone, someone who keeps creating amazing decks is more impressive than someone who just copies decks and plays them well. Exactly. Exactly, right? That's a different thing, right? But it's the same comparison. It's the simplest comparison. Like, what's more impressive? The noob that made that new deck and everyone's copying, or the pro player that's super calculated with that deck? There's skill in both, but for me, it's the guy that made the deck. Who are the most influential players of the last 3 years? Cyril, Maru. Who for Protoss? I actually don't know. I mean, also Rogue, I guess. Cyril, Rogue, Maru, and Trap. Yeah, Trap's there. Stats. Stats is, see, that's what I mean. Stats is a really good player, right? This is the thing. Stats is a really good player, but he's not influential. Like, name me one stats build. You know what I mean? Like, what stats build do you know? Or what stats playstyle do you know? He literally does the most basic thing. Or most normal thing, not basic. 3 base Nexus into 3/3. That's not a stats thing, though. Stats is the innovation of TOS? Yeah, exactly. And it's like, is innovation good? Yes, but he did not invent shit. He literally plays the most standard Terran ever. You know who's influential? Gumiho. That's an influential Terran. Trap, I would say, is an influential Protoss, because I've actually seen him do builds I haven't seen before. SOS, that's a good point. SOS is an influential Protoss. Is he better than Stats? That's not the point. The point is who's more influential. Björn, that's a good one. I would say Stefano is extremely influential. Not now, but back in the day. Snoot as well. Snoot was one of the OGs in camping Zerg. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but he was one of the first people that did that. But yeah, those kinds of players will always have a more special place in my ranking than someone who's just playing well. And that doesn't mean that those people that are just playing well are bad or I don't like them. It just... TY is somewhere in the middle between Innovator and Standard? Yeah, I would say so. Did SOS introduce anything that stuck? I mean, he did a lot of builds. That's the thing, like, he didn't do one thing, but he did a lot of builds, and people will remember SOS. For sure. You value strategy aspect of RTS? Yes, I value strategy, that fucking strategy game, because that's what StarCraft should be. Or at least a strategy game, in my opinion. Do you think there's anything that any player StarCraft II current era can do to have you say they're innovative, or is the game too figured out? I'm trying to think. What's the last thing that someone did that's innovative? As hard as it is to admit life had a big impact, he did. He sure did. Negative and positive. Max Packs? Probably Max Packs. Yeah. Because he plays different. Raynor Lurkers versus Bio. I don't think that was Rainer. I think that was Solar. I'm pretty sure Solar did that first. And I remember when I talked about this with pro players, they said that Solar has been practicing for a long time before lurkers became a thing. And then Blizzard buffed lurkers and Solar started demolishing people. Who came up with Battle Mech? Listen, I'm not gonna take credit, okay, but in beta of Legacy of the Void, I was doing Cyclone Hellion, and I haven't seen it from anyone. There are videos from, I don't know when Legacy of the Void beta was, 2015. I was doing Cyclone Hellion when Cyclones were different. And I remember getting all the free wins because no one had any idea how to deal with it. But this is not one of those like, whoa, you know, I figured it out. Someone would have figured it out eventually. Like, if I would have to... I know this is going to sound like giga narcissistic, but if I was influential at a certain thing in the game, in StarCraft II, playstyle-wise, it would probably be mech. It has to be mech. Like, I literally meched in Wings, guys. The only player that meched in Wings was Goody and me. No one else did mech. Then Goody stopped and I kept meching throughout HOTS, and then I kept meching throughout Legacy. But another thing that I don't know if I would say more influence, but more known perhaps, was for late games. And when Bjorn won BlizzCon, I think it was in 2016, Bjorn even said in his post-game interview that he learned from Euthermal regarding, I think, like aggressive builds, and he learned from me regarding Ghost control, or like late game, something like that. Because in Heart of the Swarm / Legacy of the Void, I was extremely focused on the late game and Ravens and Ghosts. Because I was never the guy that would, like, I don't know, do this. Like, I had good multitasking, but I was never the guy that would do some sick micro in the mid game and blow everyone away. My micro was never good. The nuclear Terran, yeah. Or maybe for nukes, I don't know. But yeah, I'm probably not influential in like a grand scheme of StarCraft, because I don't think I was that big, but just like my biggest points, I guess, were those. But yeah, good times. I miss Wings of Liberty times. I thought Wings of Liberty was good. It had its flaws, you know, when you look back, but the game felt like strategy and not just you know, macro micro simulator. All right, boys, I'm gonna head off. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's stream. We watched a little bit of videos. We got some rating. We're almost done with the Zerg stuff. Thank you for watching. Peace out, Cookie Scout. I'll see you guys next time. What do you think about Rainer? I think he's a great player. And he will continue to win. And I'm actually excited to see the rivalry between him and Cyril. Bye-bye.